Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We're live on a Sunday afternoon or on your time zone, depends wherever we are. We're here in this lovely Shonen Ronin episode 42. And I can't wait to start the show. We're covering 4 issues today. Ayashimon Chapter 24, Undead Unluck Chapter 111, JJK, Rest in Peace for our dude, Chapter 185, and MHA. We see people having different type of devotion in Chapter 353. So let's get started. I would say beautiful duo. And then would it turn to a quadruple panel? That's the question to be. So let's start the show. Let's see a beautiful panelist of two. Welcome, Kendall. How we doing this Sunday afternoon of Shonen Ronin? Shonen Ronin of a Shonen Jump coverage. How we doing?
Hey, I'm good, man. Back home from vacation. Well, back home from home, basically. Back in my house. Got my setup good. Feel like my audio sounds pretty good.
It does sound good. It does sound good to me.
So I'm ready, man. We got a short release, but it was good. It was good. So I'm ready to start talking about it, man.
Yeah, we have 4 issues to cover out of our usual 6. Kaiju number 8 comes back next week as such as well as One Piece. I won't be here on the show for next week. Sam the manga man will be covering that show, and he will be discussing My Hero Vigilantes as well on that show with our boy Ray Apollo and Aniki as well. So that'll be very exciting. And it's just, it's great to have. Albus, we are ready, folks. We are ready to have a good discussion, a quick lit. And maybe we'll be having some surprises on this show. So definitely stay tuned. For this Wednesday, we don't have yet a topic yet, but we'll stay tuned for that. And yes, Albus, that is a drippy background. Bleach is coming back. Bleach Kubo is known to have the most drippiest, clothes. So that is definitely a fact. But let's get straight to it for chapter 24 Yashima of issue 25 of Weekly Shonen Jump. So how are we feeling about this? Because this felt like a quick chapter. It felt like, no lie, this felt like a side chapter and a fourth wall breaking of how most mangaka feels that they could get close to getting axed.
I felt that. I felt this was the prepared chapter. And we've been talking about this for a couple weeks now, but it definitely felt like hey, let me lay out just a couple things for you about how I feel. But beyond that, I think we've been talking a lot about like mental wellness, mental strength, and like the mental fortitude kind of being the way a lot of mangakas are trying to animate that. And this was another beautiful, unique example of that. So we have our main character who we already know in their head really wants to be this like main character of their story. So we kind of have like a full dive into the shonen category really this episode, because we get Moru to basically be like, in his head, he's the one that's crafting, he's the engineer of his story, right? He's the director, the writer of his story, he's the mangaka of his own story, and basically that's his psyche. And so the only thing that's been inhibiting him to this part is the way that he's thinking about things. And he basically it's shown the way his mental state is based off of that. And it's the power of words, right? And he even says like, okay, boom. So my stance on this to this point has been this. And I can clearly see the visible wall that has put in front of me. And now things have changed, because the reason I had this stance is because of my environment and where I have lived and how I've been to this point. And then to turn around and be like, well, that's changed, and I now understand that I can go even further because I have people supporting me. And it's not told in a fairy tale kind of way. It's not told in a One Piece kind of way.
It's told in a real world.
Told in this almost realistic lifestyle, like to bring it to us is like this human world-esque thing where it's still very unique, because again we have that manga presentation. Again, we know that he wants to be this character, and I feel like this story actually took a very pivotal shift in becoming a bit more shonen, if I could say that, this chapter.
I would also add to that, where with our boy Maru, he was a guy who always felt independent. He also felt like he could fight alone. The same thing, like us humans always try to do things on our own. We believe that we could do things independently. We don't like to or try to depend on others, because sometimes they're too busy, they don't want to come, they don't want to do it. But for him to admit to himself, he like, yeah, I can't do it alone, I need your guys' help. for him to acknowledge that in the last page, in the last panel, for him to realize that, yo, I'm literally on my last legs. I literally cannot defeat this guy on my own. I need to reach out for help. For him to acknowledge that, it shows that his improvement as a character, but his improvement as himself as a person mentality. So it shows that us humans, we try to be independent all the time as the best we could, but we need help no matter what. As much as that we try to be strong, as much as that we try to be cocky, as much as we try to be like, nah, I'm good, we need that help. And here it shows that Maro knew that he has a weakness, he cannot do this on his own. And it shows that in this past 24 chapters, that he has already grown his own cast of people to help him in the system in that shows. So that's very beautiful. Even though I said that this chapter felt very slow and everything, but it was more character driven for it had the comedy of the 4-4 breaking of how his series could be acts and everything, but at the same time, most importantly, it was about his character growth, and that's what it was more, because it was more inside his psyche of himself as his character.
And you know what? So My Hero Academia, we get a look at a unique take on someone's perspective of hero and justice, right? And here we have another take that is very much so a take on what a main character is. You know what I mean? Very specifically, very dynamically looking in and out at like, hey, this is what a main character, this is my perspective of what a main character should be. And we kind of kept seeing that, right? Main character should be, loyal. Main character should be resilient. Main character should basically, have a certain level of understanding of their environment and, be able to support and lean on for support. What we keep seeing over the course of chapters is truly development of a main character. Now, of course, in any storytelling, that's what we get, but there's this specific kind of targeting that the mangaka is doing to like show us like, no, this is really maybe not the perfect, but like this is what I would consider to be a good shonen main character, and showing us what they think are strengths and weaknesses to that, and there's a certain simpleness to it. And then when you tie that back into the idea of basically going against concepts, right? He is trying to go against the concept of everything, and we see basically is this really cool natural progression that keeps happening because we're in a climactic state, and basically the climax and the target of what's going on has changed. So now it's like, oh, we need to defeat this person. Oh wait, no, we need to save this person because I'm the protagonist, I'm the main character. I can't go out like that, I can't just lose, but also I got this skill. Maybe I could do something that's never been done before, and I could pull this kitsune out of their overwritten clone form essentially. So yeah, this was a very good chapter for me as a reader, as somebody who wants the lore and the story and the concept. We got a lot of lore, we got a lot of different things that happened really quickly. So next week's chapter is going to be really awesome. I hope they don't dry it out to try and make the conclusion of what they just explained in this chapter to be over 2 chapters. I think it's straightforward enough that you can just be like, okay, can he do it? Boom. Even if it's a turn page and he doesn't necessarily do it like right at the last panel, or he's doing it in the last panel, that's fine. But I don't think it should be drawn out too much longer. But yeah, this series is good. Does it need to be long and forever? No. I can see so much dynamic things that can happen, but again, it's in a really good place for me. I think the pacing is good. I think it's still putting out quality enough to sustain the acts. I think it can survive a little bit longer.
I'd like to add also that this, if you think about it in a very analytical way, this chapter as well is very dark because it's how it starts with the title says, I can do it alone. And then while the first 2-3 pages is, is talking about him, the character, it sees, very full for breaking, of how you draw, how you write the story, how you look at like the MC. But then you go to page 5, you see his legs bleeding, and then you see the next page, his like whole blood face showing and everything, looks like he's a dead person. But then look at the next panel where he's just smack in the middle of the panel, it's just straight dead like a zombie. So it shows that this person is literally going through like a psychotic, not breakdown, but through a process of him understanding that he could reach the point of death, but he's a person that won't give up because he believed in such a the Shonen Jump way of you never giving up in there because this is what he has read, of course, because it's running the same series. But it just shows that this person literally just woke up and broke through. Again in page 14, 15, he said it to himself. Now it's different. I'm not alone no more. I could continue fighting with people behind me, and I don't have to do it by my two hands alone. So it shows that, again, this chapter was very self-contained, but very straightforward for its character growth and for its character progression, most importantly, for Maru, and that's why I like it was straightforward. And then I moved the plot line, but it moved the character progression online, and that's also most important in the story. Not just when you move a story along, but when you also have a character point of across in an episode or chapter where you just talk of the character, the psyche, what can you do better with this character, and that's what you did. And I feel like that's a positivity for the character.
Yeah, and you could also even argue that while it didn't move it in a direction, what it did was it solidified its ground a little bit, right? It made it a little more robust. It was like, okay, here's the plot. You know that we've been heading in a direction, but let me fill that out more for you, because I'm sure coming off of the last chapter, a lot of us was like, whoa, is this a clone? Like, we were all thinking, it's like, is it a clone? Is it somebody pretending? Did he really just convince the man to show up himself? You know what I mean? There's a lot of different ways, because again, we're still in the early stages of this series to know what what lores are actually being tied into certain things. So again, like, it was really good. I think just my last thoughts on everything, I think it was really cool. So we had a certain concept of what Dopo's ability was, right? And we had these thoughts and ideas around how it cools and different things. And then again, we kind of got the full explanation of what the power is this chapter. It's the spear. You know, it's wiping out the light, wiping out the hope, which is like in the essence of what you think about a hero or a main character to be. This is literally the antithesis of what you are looking at, right? It's like, yo, I'm going to snuff out any chance of hope you have. I'm going to give you this spear. That's something that we see played around with in series like My Hero Academia, and many other series throughout our reads and our watches of manga and anime. So I thought that was really cool. The fire that is our own light. You know, people often say that the soul is a fire and a blaze of itself.
The will of fire.
To snuff the will of fire. Being able to snuff out that fire, being able to snuff out that light, and that light in itself, in essence, being your being. That is what he's removing. That fire, the fire that is you. That was a really, really deep and prolific concept. So again, maybe not a lot of plot development, but a lot of robustness has been added to the story's concept.
I agree. Like, I cannot add more to that because it's literally on the point to the character, to the point of about the story itself. So, with that being said, Ayashimon, I think we're good, right? Let's move on to Undead Unluck.
Yes.
All right. So Undead Unluck, chapter 111. My man, I believe this is the end of the chapter of the arc, and we move on to Ragnar, or maybe next chapter. We see the process of how you move on to the next loop, and then we see how that loop goes. Really curious to see if we're going to see the reincarnation of everyone in the world, or are we going to see time skips of certain characters as Focal, Joey's, and everyone else. So really curious to see how about that is. But Kendall, what are your thoughts of chapter 111? What are your first impressions once you read the quick backstory of Rip in that chapter, and then after you see of the conversation between Rip and Andy and how he feels that he's going to start the next loop? And at first he didn't feel like, hey, this may not be the best course of action because I couldn't save her. But once Andy said that he believed that if I didn't believe I could do it, I would have not done the loop in the first place. So that moved Rip, and that could move anybody. Did that move you?
Yeah, so I think again, once again, I'm gonna keep saying this as we continue to go through the story. And I think that it is, hey, I see you, Sam. I think that it is important to understand that there's a very strong concept of love. There's a very strong concept of justice that pertains to this series. And we see it here again, where it's a challenge of your convictions. Like, are you convicted enough? I mean, it's almost like a challenge of not just your justice, but like, is your love strong enough? Is your love and your sense of right even more superior than what Rip is displaying? And I have to admit, up until Andy saying the things that he said in this chapter, I was like, yo, you can't top Rip, bro. This man is willing to end the world. But the added weight of what Andy presents is basically, well, I'm willing to end the world, but I'm also willing to save everyone at the same time. It's not just damned all the way through. It's I'm gonna do my best to uplift everything, because he also understands, you know, and this is probably a testament to having kind of more time in the idea of pursuit of Fuko, but he has the understanding that what it takes to make Fuko happy in any world, in any time, in any loop, is basically having all of these people that she's fallen for and cared for, they're her friends, to be able to have those people alive and protected. And I think it was interesting. I told you guys we was gonna see Victor soon. I knew it was coming.
Yo, I said it
Victor come in, and we
last
saw
week,
he
man. I
had
was
such
happy.
a great impact in the story in a way that wasn't invasive. It wasn't just a full takeover of the body or anything like that. It was like we was kind of hinting to this kind of like, you know, Nine Tails to Naruto. You know, Grandma's like, I'll lend you my power, and Victor's like, yo, I'll lend you my power on this condition. Understand this for yourself. And he didn't try to force him. He gave him guidance, but he didn't try to force Andy into a decision. He just was like, these are what I require in order to give it to you. Are you willing to take this up? Are you ready to take this up? And matter of fact, it doesn't even matter what Andy really said as much of how he was able to say it and express it, because that's what Victor was looking for. And I think Victor knew, but Victor just needed him to understand that outward for himself and see it, because you see that Andy's kind of looking from within himself. You know, he's looking at this monitor that's, you know, we can only assume he's inside of his own mental state, and he's looking out of his eyes per se, but it's the fact that Andy himself had to take a step back inside himself and observe what was going on and make a decision.
That I would 100% agree, because it showed from last week's chapter that what Victor did to show Andy, it shows that Victor has been watching all this time. Victor has been watching every single move that Andy has done, and what changes that Victor hasn't done before in the loops. All those 98 loops that Victor has done, and what Andy's doing different, and what is causing the different type of effects with the Umas, with God, and with the whole type of reincarnation, with everyone acting different, that Victor's impressed. So he's willing to help him out and reach out, like, look, I give him power, this is what I could guide you to do. And it shows that Victor's not a bad guy. Victor's a person who's old, but not old in a state where he's physically old, but mentally, where he's already fed up with those 98 loops that he's been doing with Joey's, and he's just tired already. He's not that he's given up, but he's at the point where he just doesn't believe no more is worth it for mankind. But now he believes that there's another side of him, Andy, that still believes in the possibility of to win. So I just love how my favorite line is where he told them, I will change them, and if I couldn't, there would be no point in taking that loop, knowing that you have such a strong type of conviction to tell others that I will save them no matter what. And if I didn't see an outcome, I wouldn't have done in the first place. Like, that's such a strong conviction for you to just say that cold-heartedly and believe in yourself and try to make others believe, saying that you could save the person that he couldn't save as a technician, as a doctor, but you're saying that you could in this next loop. Like, that brings hope. And like in any type of medium, hope is a powerful thing. It's a powerful drug, because no matter in the darkest times, once you have hope, you believe that there's light coming. You believe that there's a possibility for you to survive, for you to see an outcome. So that was such a powerful one-liner, that also for Rip to honestly say in the next thing, saying that next time let us join your group. For Rip to even say that, a person
to be
that
my hero, he basically was like, yo, be my hero. Like, you know, he's like, go on, hero. Like, he basically acknowledges that that Andy is his hero, and I think even Victor does too.
Yeah,
Because Victor stepping in, I think, is an acknowledgement. Like, okay, Juiz is not coming into this next loop. So if anyone's gonna do anything that's gonna correct anything at this point, it's Andy. And I think he's been sitting back trying to assess whether Andy is truly capable of that. So we also see Victor's hope in Andy. So we're seeing again more development on, like you said, the idea of hope and what's not into this series.
I believe Avis brought a good question. I wonder if we're gonna have to fight Aboniko now, especially since the balls are floating around there. Yes, that is true. In the last double spread, when we see the bike, and we see the balls on the left and on the right of his bike, so that it's a good point that we might see Nico in the air, because we cannot forget Aboniko in this type of scenario. So that is a good choice. That is a good point. Sam also brought up he gave up the world, but he at least want the love of his life to be with him in their last days, 100%. Rip was trying to be Supreme Strange. Oh my god, yes, yes. I got Obito Uchiha vibes from Rip rereading the last few chapters, which is fine by me because I actually like Obito's character. Yes, I agree. Both Sam and Alice is spitting facts. So with Rip, and also the sad way, the way. I forgot what's her name right now. I think it's not Leia. I forgot her name exactly. But her telling Rip, "Good night, Rip. You've always been so cool." Like just showing that Rip always tried to be the hero, the gentleman with the people around him. It shows how meaningful and not powerful, but how inspirational that he is to the people around him, to the circle, the light that he brings. But then it's very flip of how he brings the light to others, but he doesn't have a light to himself because he lost that light. So he still brings the lightness to people to believe in their hope and what they could accomplish, but he has no hope right now because he lost to the woman he loved, and now he wants to bring the light back from. So it's very, I forgot the word, ironic, I think is the word for this. It's very ironic for it. The love of his life wanted him to be a hero, but Rip just couldn't do it without her. Yep, exactly. Vala, she deserves so much better. I agree. But hopefully in this next loop, she does deserves a lot more in what they could get and what they could accomplish. So I'm curious because we have always expected expectations, or we always had something but there. So what could be the next loop? Is the loop gonna happen because of Ragnarok and everything else? But not that we're actually, seems like we're actually gonna go to the next loop, actually start the whole world again, the whole Big Bang. I wonder what it's next. I wonder what's next for them to actually start. Are we gonna start? Are we gonna start gaining our characters? Are we gonna see Andy's ex-girlfriend? I forgot her name. The one that had the hat that could like have a shield around her. I wonder if we're gonna see her in the next loop and come back for her as a character. That'd be pretty interesting too. Kendall, you're on mute. You're good now.
There we go. Sorry, y'all. A little technical difficulties. We're back. But yeah, no. I agree. It's so much, right? Because like even what you guys are saying in the chat, it's like we've really seen a lot of people just go through a lot. And if you remember, I don't remember what cover it was recently, but they had like those pairings. And we saw like even Billy and everything. Everyone's had to just kind of sacrifice so much just trying to pursue their own personal idea of like what justice is, who they want to protect, what's important to them. So it's just it's this series is so much more, I don't want to say calm, but wholesome than I think we even give it credit for.
It's funny how you say it's wholesome, but has such dark themes and such a big important mental state, and how much love, hope, and conviction and justice are the most important themes of this series. And it's funny how you call it wholesome.
I think that's what's so wholesome about it. The wholesomeness is the reality of what is brought into this, right? The challenging of like, you know, having the hope in the darkness. But again, we're not just seeing it from a power perspective. Yes, we're seeing a world end type of scenario that we often see with shonen series, but there's also just the human is playing so much more role in the way that we are portraying even the powers in this series. And I think that is, to me, what makes it have this sense of like wholesomeness to it.
Sam, I'm not sure if you could say that this is the worst timeline or dark timeline, because what we could say for us, the audience, this could be the dark timeline for us, but we don't know what has happened the other 98 times Victor and Julius. We don't know if they had much worse enemies or darker timelines and everything.
we kind of do. The story has alluded to that. So here, when even before we got to the whole point with the moon and stuff, we've known, and even the enemies have been saying like this is like the worst it's been. Like even the fact that we've had different entities that have never shown up before to challenge them.
That is true. The Umas have said it a couple times. That is true.
Yeah. So there's some inkling of like this being the worst loop. This was supposed to be the final loop, realistically. So I think there's a point. I would agree. Andy is definitely being the barrier of this universe in more ways than one, honestly.
Okay, so the way Alvarez brings up, I will agree to your point, Sam, because that is true. From what we have seen, like Kendall brought up, every type of enemy has brought up saying that this is the worst timeline, and we have seen new type of enemies that hasn't been brought up in other loops that has been sent by Julius and everyone else that has been part of other loops. So for them to say that about the loops, about the Umas, and about the two people that came who are under the fellowship of God themselves, who serve the sun, that also means that this is the worst dark type of timeline. That things have just been getting worse and worse every single loop. But then, when you think about it, that makes sense to the biblical aspect of Ragnarok. Ragnarok is what comes to the worst of worst of the foundation of said Ragnarok. Ragnarok only happens when things are up to the end of the point of all loops, meaning that there's no turning back. That's what Ragnarok means, the end of all. So it makes sense for that being the case, for this being the worst of timeline, for that being the case.
And you know, Sam, even to the point, I'm actually gonna read this out loud so I can say what I want to say to it properly. So Sam says there's a point where you have to live in the worst of timeline to create the greatest timeline.
Ooh, nice.
It's the experience of it. Even if it's the worst in your life. So now take that back to us. Let's say that we did live in a state where there are reincarnations and other timelines. We don't get to know that. So right now we could be either living our best or our worst. So then we still owe it to ourselves to do what we can do. If there is an idea that we would get another chance, we have to do what we can do to set up basically for us to have a better future, whether it's something that we get to exist in permanently or not. And I think even for us who don't believe in necessarily reincarnation, that's also the idea of having children, right? Like you pass on certain knowledge, legacy, memories, and different things onto wisdom, technology, even onto the future generation in hopes that they will advance and be better. And you can't just hand off the technology, right? You have to hand off the study, you have to hand off the mental state, you have to hand off a lot of different things in order for that to come full circle to you. And I feel like that, again, like I just had to read what Sam said because that really stuck out to me.
No,
just shout out to Sam and Alves because y'all making some real good points in the chat right now.
Yeah, you're making some really good points that makes us like bring forth and preach of what we've been saying about Undead Unluck, about this series, where on the surface level, when people read Undead Unluck at first, it shows the whole dick out, like, oh no, then this series not for me. But once you read the 20 plus chapters, the 40 plus chapters, you see that this is more about not just a dick out, or not just about the fighting, not just about the power system. It's more about these themes about your conviction, about justice, about your love, of what is your point of being alive, what is it that drives you. So those type of things is what brings this series in such an emotional way, and it does such a good job to bring the cast for us to relate to. Like Rip, my man, I can understand what brings you love. Like my partner, I've never loved nobody else that I've ever loved before like her, and she drives me to motivate me to get up, go to work, to come and do the show. Like yeah, without her, I don't know where my life would be. I'll be strapping honest and say this on the show. I don't know where my life would be without my partner. So where I understand what Rip is, that you would destroy the world, you would destroy the loop, you would destroy the fucking planet just to go to another loop and just to save a single woman out of every other billion other people in the world. Like that's a lot of respect, but you understand where this man is coming from.
There's also this other dynamic of essentially you see unsick. Did we define that? Was that ever actually explicitly said? Was that defined? We'll say unsick. Unhealthy? I don't remember. Anyways, you see this child come on and they're like, you're gonna save my mom, right? And we get this child perspective of it. And then you have this other person who's very much so an adult come in and be like, I'm going to trust you with my dreams. It's unhealthy. That's what I thought. I'm gonna trust you with my dreams, you know. And they're both basically like, I can believe in you, right? Like you're strong. You're this person. You've inspired me. You've helped me before even. And again, the combination of that. And again, I think that there's a beautiful dynamic in, because unhealthy could have shown up later on after they were leaving and had that conversation, but I think it was pertinent to have them both in that moment be like, yo, you're gonna save my mom, right? You're gonna save the woman, my friend, the person that I love, right? You're gonna save this person that means so much to me. And seeing that from the hopeful perspective of what you could almost call a certain level of naivete, right? Because unhealthy doesn't have the same full grasp of the situation that Rip does. So it's just kind of like, again, it's this kind of really beautiful dynamic of showing you just like what exactly is the fruit of everything we've been watching to this point. Because I know for a certain point when we transitioned to this kind of like heading towards Ragnar point, it kind of got, it felt a little chaotic, honestly. It kind of felt like the plot was getting a little bit chaotic.
It did.
But
I agree to that.
it really does. It really has brought itself full circle. I think it was a beautiful choice to let Rip come in and kind of be the main target of who Andy had to overcome, because we were getting so much good versus evil, good versus evil, good versus evil. And it was good. It was a really good change of pace. So I'm really excited to see how this transition into whatever the next arc or the next plot point is. But once again, Undead Unluck continues to really be good at just continuing the flow. Like I don't, there's never really a hard pause. It's just kind of like, all right, on to the next thing. We're going on to the next thing.
That's what I love about the series, because for example with Black Clover or One Piece series, or MHA or like some series, you could at least make up some theories and know where it could go, right? You could be like, oh, this is the direction it could go. Some YouTubers could be right, but with Undead Unluck, I don't know if there's been any YouTubers or any manga readers that have said on the tweet on the timeline on YouTube and actually have been right on the direction Undead Unluck. But I made some theories for Undead Unluck and I have not been close to right, well, not once. Which I'm proud of that, because that's when you know the mangaka has its clear direction of where they know is going and where the possibility for that. And that's a beautiful thing, because it shows that for Undead Unluck right now, the Ragnar could happen, right? I just brought up our boy Nico balls are in the air right next to the bike in those last two double spreads in the last page, right?
That was a cool shot, by the way.
Cool shot. The double spreads for Undead Unluck are always perfect, are always great. But then it makes you understand, like, okay, we have Nico balls in the air. That means he might show up next chapter, or just go straight to Ragnar, or be the person to go with Andy in the next loop. Who knows? But that's what I love about it, because it makes you ask questions, but you don't really have a good theory of where it could go, because there's so many possibilities for this series to go in the next loop. Like, all right, cool, the loop happens. That means it's Andy and Fuku or Andy and Nico, we don't know. But that means what's next? Does it start the next 1,000 years to build the union, make money, have a mansion, work around the government? So all these stuff will be interesting. Or where there be time skips of how us, the audience, will see things, 100 years later move on. If we go back to the present, we have captured the Umos and everything else. So it's pretty interesting of where this series could go, and to me that's such a beautiful thing. I agree. There's a comment saying that I don't think when I read, I'm just enjoying the ride. That's the same with Undead Unluck. I could say this is one series that I just enjoy the read, and I don't try to look for theories. I don't try to see what's next. I just be enjoying. Alright, cool. Next chapter. Oh, cool. We see this nice ass bike, and we see Nico's balls there. Alright, cool. What's next? I'll find out next week on the next chapter of 112 of Undead Unluck. That's me, and that's one thing I'm happy to say for this series. Not that I'm saying that I don't like making up theories for MHA or JJK or One Piece or Black Clover or any of the series, but it's sometimes good to just enjoy the read of a series and not try to be all this up and very skeptical on what's next. And that's what I like to do about it. Sam says the loop starts happening and we see cutscenes panels of every character dying and hugging their loved ones for Ragnar. That's most likely it could be it.
So there's two things I want to say. One, to Sam's point, how because I was literally just thinking before you typed that if and when this gets animated, this next transition of the loop would be so awesome for a movie. Because if you have like these like panel page turns and you're just seeing glimpses of like time flashing again, you've seen like Barry and different stuff. You see people running through the time force and these different scenes of timelines, and we've seen all kind of different interpretations. So that would be so cool to have for a movie or even animation, just for an episode. I think that would be super cool. But the other thing that I wanted to point out is that this was chapter 111, 111, and that's an angel number. And in regards to spirituality and biblically, it symbolizes a new beginning or a new cycle. So I don't think that, I think that was very intentional, that this specific chapter number was this certain point at which we got basically the look of like, all right, again, the combination of all the things of the past world and taking that responsibility, putting on Andy, the change of like, okay, Fuku's gonna be the one, we're gonna save these people. Again, a new cycle is essentially turning itself over right now based off of everything that we've known about the series to this point.
That is true. Sam brought up a good point. Annie needs to put Fuku in the loop pod too. So I'm curious to see how that's gonna work with her body still being ghost. If I'm correct, she's still a ghost form, right?
Yes.
Yes. So I'm curious to see how is that gonna bring that, and you having some type of Superman reference. That is a good point. With that being a Superman reference with the pod, the whole planet being explosion, and you have to start the loop. It can go to a new planet. So I guess the new planet is the same thing as Earth. So yeah.
Yeah.
And also, since we're right there, a big shout out to Project Manga as well. They also do a similar content like anime lately, so go check them out. They have a show there. Their show drops Tuesday and Wednesday. If you're Patreon, it drops like Monday evening, afternoon is why I see my notification from Patreon most of the time. So definitely check that out. If you're a fan of Project Manga or a fan of us, you will enjoy their content, because if you haven't checked out, they do some great breakdown analysis of every other series on them. They do Ranger Reject and every other series of Weekly Shonen Magazine and Weekly Shonen Jump. So I definitely go suggest and check them out.
Yeah, honestly, Knox, I would say Undead Unluck might be the GOAT of pacing as it is right now. I don't know if anyone's handling pacing and just keeping. You think about like making a sub, right? And you know how you gotta cut into the sub, and sometimes people cut into the sub and like stuff starts to spill out. Never happens with Undead Unluck. It's a perfect cut every time. It's still neat and tucked. It's just it's perfect execution. It's beautiful, man.
I highly suggest also Mission Jujutsu from Weekly Shonen Jump. Both of these series are doing great pacing. Both Undead Unluck and also Mission Jujutsu Family are doing great pacing, both on their own, and both moving the story along in a good pace where it doesn't feel rushed or slow. And also they have such a great cast where each cast member has a story for a reason and not just being there just to be there.
Yeah, Sam, I think that there was kind of a slight foreshadowing of it needing to be both of them and the whole callback to the title of the series. But I've also been of the impression that it has to be either or Andy or Fuku. And I think it would make much more sense to be Fuku. And I think that's why Fuku was taken away from us at such a pivotal point in the story, because Fuku was developing at a very aggressive pace, from a personal standpoint, from a mental standpoint as well. Yeah, Alves, again, it's pacing GOAT right now, man. It's great. It's really great.
Yeah,
and we keep people. I see people talking online a lot about like series seeming redundant, and people starting to get a little fatigued. And I'm like, I don't know how. Like, you guys are like, even just in the shonen genre, not like yes, some of y'all are just only reading shonen, and this is Shonen Ronin, and we focus on shonen today. But like, even in the shonen genre, I'm starting to see a lot of diversity in the way that storytelling is executed, and I really agree.
I agree. Like, people, but the timeline likes to talk shit all the time, so I don't take their words with a grain of salt all the time. I only take it to, is Andy Jake Lockley? No, and Jake Lockley is definitely Victor. Definitely Victor. Definitely Victor. Jake Lock is Victor. I'll say Andy is probably Steven and Mark. I'll give Andy Steven and Mark. I'll give that. Yeah, that is my notion. Andy and Steve. Andy is Steven and Mark. Jake is Victor. Definitely for sure. I'll give it to that reference for sure. Yeah. Would you agree with that, Kendall?
Yeah. That's how that works. That's sad though, but yeah.
Yes, Knox. I suggest for you to check out our breakdown for Ibomaru that we did the review. It was only a good 10-minute review, so I suggest if you want to check out, because we did a group breakdown which for Maru mentality and psychic for that. It was really good. Knox said Andy and Victor is like if Wolverine and Moon Knight did the fusion dance. Woo! Woo!
Now that's the inner chaos mental state that I would rather apply to Victor. That is the chaos state I would like to apply to Victor.
Shit.
Right, Wolverine. Yes.
Shit, me just thinking about that got me like, damn, that's an interesting mix-up. Woo, Wolverine and Moon Knight. Yo, Marvel, that should be a what-if scenario right there. A what-if scenario right there. That'd be perfect. A Wolverine and Moon Knight, a little fusion dance. Ooh, that would be a little nice mixture. Have some type of spellcaster and just put both of them there. And then Focal, Wolverine and Rogue. Oh yes. Yes. And what's up, chat? As some people join, it was Kirigaya. Welcome. You're not late. You got into the Unluck convo. We're about to end it. So you got into this. We're about to jump into JJK to our boy, rest in peace, Panda. But you know, he's feeling sometimes headless, if you know what I'm saying. Trying to find that chapter real quick.
Yeah, man. But, so as we transition into
JJK,
again, guys, this was such a really strong week for having like a short release, not having as many series. But while Bash is getting his stuff together, please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the share with your friends, post us, retweet our post on Twitter, and of course, you know, feel free to tag us in some of your takes on the things that we're covering. Give us your theories, comment them below. Yeah, we love that for you. We love that for us.
And if you're listening to the podcast, so definitely go check that out. All down below is all our friends like Aniki, Project Manga, every friends that we support are down on the YouTube homepage. All down below is all the links of where to find us and the team itself. But like Kendall was alluding to, we're here to do JJK, Jujutsu Kaisen, Chapter 185. Bye. It's not by Britney Spears, but here our boy Panda, because he said bye for sure. So, how are we feeling about this chapter, chat and Kendall? Because it was such a cute chapter. Our boy Panda, Monkey Gorilla, and I keep trying to figure that shit out. Is that a rhino? Is that a unicorn? What the fuck is that?
It's a rhinoceros.
Rhinoceros.
But so not a rhinoceros. It's a triceratops. My bad. I feel like I'm mixing all my dinosaurs up because I heard you say one thing and now my brain is whatever. But anyways, it's definitely a dinosaur. Shout out to Land Before Time.
Oh, so sad.
Yo, so again on the idea of good transitions, right? This is such a good build-up. So what the last couple chapters gave us was 2 JJK sorcerers being way overpowered and they're about to clash. That's like the overarching thing that basically happened. Yes, we got Panda, we got a little insight to the mental and the psyche and the visuals. Honestly, I think this was a prelude to say that Panda gets a power up, honestly, because they kind of say that no, we're the ones that has to lead Panda, and Panda's a voice that's still present. So I don't know, I don't think that's like a debt to the characters, but maybe some type of evolution or mutation to the way that they currently exist is probably about to happen. But again, like I said, there's a setup because the last fight was so overpowering in my opinion. And then now we have another display of like overpowering of like we know Panda's pretty strong, man. Like
Yeah,
he may not be the strongest, but he's pretty strong.
Panda
And
was
he
special
gets
too, and before the exam,
dusted.
it was it was suggested to go to special one. So sorry for Panda, but so it shows
Panda
that this character
gets
as whip.
dusted. He is definitely officially the Chad of JJK, and the question is, are we going to even ever see its final power up form of what Panda is really supposed to be? But Panda got literally and physically, emphatically dusted. There is stuffing all over the place.
Nah, I get what you're saying.
Yo.
That Panda's gonna be alright, but look, it's hard to believe when Lurdy. If you look at page Lurdy 16, Panda's guts, every part of the body is on the floor with blood. It's kind of hard to believe that you're gonna be alright, like no problem. And Lurdy be like, yo, your head on the stick. Lurdy, your head on the
he
stick.
hasn't lost his personality though.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
even to like the last chapter, like he's still Panda, you know. There's no sense of direness to it. There's just like again, like I said, this is the precipice of basically an evolution for Panda potentially. So yeah, this oh my gosh. We always talk about how JJK comes back off of like breaks, and like the break that led into what we've been getting right now. Chef kiss. It's beautiful.
It is, and it shows like. So I forgot who said it was Alvarez or Kirgaya or somebody else saying that this chapter felt weird because the way I understood the comedy aspect of the three people inside Panda's body, the way I saw is that again the theme that we're going on with this type of issue is about the psychology aspect in the mentally of Panda. They have three personalities. Again, just like Muna, you have three personalities. You have Jake, you have Steven, and Mark. For this is Panda, Gorilla, and the dinosaur. I forgot the name, but dinosaur. So they all having a little game, a little conversation, a little flashback in their head, and a little joking around. But then it gets very dark. It gets very serious, and in that page of 14 and 15. Where all three of them are crying because they realize that we're the ones being left behind. So being a good brother and say goodbye, like showing that they acted like all three of them were kids inside one body, but then at the end they were all just done. Ava said just call it 3 sword star DinoVash. That is very true. I guess you could put it in that sense too. But it just gets very sadistic what already happens at the end where all three of them were playing inside their head. And I'm correct, is that a whale in the double spread?
The father thing?
Yeah.
I don't know. I stopped trying to understand it after the second time it showed up in a panel. To be quite honest, I was like, what is this? I don't want to think about it too hard.
Cool. Because I was trying to figure that shit out. I'm like, no, I don't know.
Yes, I do recall on what was said in regards to creation. I do remember there being a previous reference to like father, as well. So I knew immediately that this was like a psychosis cover of, the internal mindset of.
Yes, Long. This feels like a slice of life. That's what I was trying to lead into. Appreciate for you saying it because this felt like a good slice of life story, and then it's kind of like any horror type of setup. You're having a good day, you're having a good life, and then the score changes. The real shit gets together. The murder comes and slowly walking. The camera peels in, and then that's what literally happens in page 6 and 17. You see a dead body of Panda cut in pieces, and you put Panda on a stick, and then it just shows how crazy it is real. And literally, our boy Hakari literally gets on top with a tap of royal smashing down. I'm not sure if that's a building or a house or just some type of tower, whatever. But he smashed that like nothing. And then he was a dick. He literally said, "Hey Panda, have you lost weight?" Saying that he literally is a headless monster. I forgot what's that type of monster. But yeah, that's fucking wild. I'm gonna tell Ray if he's gonna come on still because we're in JJK. But Kendall, can you talk for a bit?
Yeah, not a problem. So, I think a little less complexity actually, from a storytelling perspective with JJK. However, a different presentation that we've seen from JJK as far as execution in their storytelling. And I'm glad because I was really trying to get out of the mindset that we're starting to kind of feel like a one-trick pony in the way that we're kind of showcasing things. Again, we'll see how the fight is executed. We usually don't get let down on the actual fights when it comes to JJK, but the way that the plot was pushed to this point, I think this is a very unique transition, and I like that the mangaka is challenging themselves, in my opinion, to kind of tell the story in a variety of different ways, and giving storytelling that is also endearing and true to the type of characters that they're using. I think the choice of which character goes where and who gets paired together and what stories get told where, when, and why, it's also intentional. It's also very much appreciated, at least for me. Um, we really have to kind of like appreciate what that is. Again, JJK has been good. It's not been missing. Undead Unluck has been great. Not been missing. Like I said, I think Ayashimon is actually doing well enough to stand the test of time, man. I think it's gonna hang around for a little bit. I think it's really a matter. Ayashimon's gonna be in the perspective of, can it continue to preserve and up the ante the way that JJK basically has been doing for us for all of these chapters. But I think Ayashimon does have that potential. Will Shonen continue to push it forward? That's still to be seen. Ayashimon's still doing fine. So much like Nox just said, Ayashimon's gonna be all right.
Question though to Chat and Kendall, do you think Panda? Panda. Do you think Hakari killed the mangaka that he was fighting previously, or do you think he let him go and came to help Panda, or do you think if he killed him, doing the snap, and they came to save Panda?
I think there's gonna be a point at the end of this where they talk about points again, and I think we'll get clarification on what that is at that point. I don't think there's any reason for me to assume either which way. What we do know is the victor was decided, whether that's a team up, whether that's total defeat. I think it was probably more akin to total defeat just off of the way that their fight was ending. But whether it was death or mercy, I think that's to be seen. But there was a gamble at play there, so we'll see what that interpreted itself out to be. But I think that'll be shown a little bit later towards the end of this fight. And it might be sooner than I think, but I think it would be towards the end of this fight or right after the end of this fight that we'll kind of get a tie back to, like, to kind of finish up what that story was, because we kind of did leave that story on kind of like a cliffhanger, basically.
It was, because if I'm correct, chapter 183 ended literally with him saying, "I use skill to grab a hold of luck," and literally that's it. That was the last page. So it was just spread that left, and then we jump up to chapter 184. Last week coverage we did, it was about our boy Panda pretending that he was trying to actually be a panda, but then got a snuff kick into the chest. Punch to the chest, because he was actually acting like a panda when he knew he was not supposed to. So it just showed the truth in the aspect. So
Yeah.
small chance that Ray might not be joining. He got the baby duties. He got papa duties. So Sam, if you're still gonna join, let us know. Come through. If not, any last thoughts about JJK, our boy Kendall?
Someone made a point earlier, but I'm glad that, again, this is testament to the writing, that I haven't had to think about, even though we've been asking for Suguna for like 2 chapters. I'm glad that I didn't have to think about any of the other main characters. Like, this is such a good storytelling that when we transition to a next scene and the next fight, I am focused and invested on what is happening in that moment. I'm not reading this and I was like, I wonder what's going on in this county, in this district, in this fighting area. It's just like, whoa, what are we doing right now? Not easing into action, not easing into the storytelling. I said that Undead Unluck is pacing GOAT as far as like total pacing, but I think as far as being able to sustain a high output right now, JJK is doing a great job at that. We know that they tend to have their little pits and positions, but as of right now, again, break that was taken, and we've had Golden Weekend stuff. JJK has not been missing. not too many chapters to be like, oh man, this is a chapter of the week, and I still wouldn't even say that this chapter was basically chapter of the week. We'll get to that later, but I think that they're still putting out high quality chapters week after week after week without missing as of right now, and I really appreciate it. Like I said, the pacing isn't dropping, but the quality is still being maintained, and that's great to see.
That I would agree 100% with the series of JJK, because even though it did a crazy jump from going our boy Hakari versus the mangaka, and then jump to Panda getting his ass whipped. I'm like, yo boy, we care about Panda. I get you, how you hurt our feelings, man. Why are you gonna treat Panda like this? This is animal violence, but he said, you know what? I'm gonna turn it up a notch, and I'm like, you know what? Instead of go animal violence, I'm gonna put him on a stick like a scarecrow. I'm gonna have him like a headless panda, like the headless pumpkin dude monster. So I'm like, okay, we see you, Gedge. You don't give a fuck about pandas out here, I see. So it shows that Gedge is a good writer. He knows what he's doing, and he don't give a fuck about his characters. So it shows that, hey, this man don't show love. So it shows that he's doing what's right. What they say? They better get rid of Sugar Moon. I don't read that. Can I give too much thoughts on that? I'm curious. I was told by my dad to take care of my duties, and he put that towards my sister. Oh my, I see.
Yeah.
You can have me laugh fun with that.
I think we know what series are the hot series in Shonen Jump, and Shonen Jump is never shy of that, because you see which titles. I don't know if you guys have the app, but you see which titles are in the caption week to week. You know which chapters Shonen Jump is in favor of, and that's the fun part, right? Is that think about it, that someone that's updating the app and stuff they're actually fans too, because they're like, this is happening, and also look out for this. So they at least are fans, so they understand what's the hype things that's going on in the series. So as far as what's going to get cut, we'll see in a few weeks. Actually, in a couple weeks, we should be having some updates on what series are probably about to get axed, honestly.
That is true. But without further ado, let's jump to a flaming hot brotherly relationship that got cooled down in MHA Chapter 353. And our boy getting from a crocodile to Godzilla, or to a gecko to Godzilla. No.
I don't know if I want to push that far. I want to say one thing though before we go anywhere. The cover.
Oh, that's a nice cover.
I told y'all we had to get a color cover. It wasn't what I wanted, but we got the color cover. It was Todoroki. I literally wish it was the move. I wish we got to see one of the moves in full color. But we did get full confirmation of exactly how the fire and ice looks across the nexus of the chest of the core, because that wasn't very clear. It kind of was all like a neutral kind of color on the black and white spread. So Killer Croc looking, yeah. But I was really like, that's how you start the chapter. That's how you transition the fight. That's how you push the sequence. I think, unfortunately for me personally, my hot take is something bad's about to happen, and we know something's bad's about to happen because this is how My Hero always tells his stories. So we had a good victory for the heroes, so now we must swing the seesaw pendulum back in a direction. So something critical in one of the different, because they showed us multiple different scenarios and multiple different like other fight areas. Something critical is about to happen somewhere. I think there was some there's some pretense of there possibly being I forgot the villain's name, but one of the Tartarus escapees.
Are you talking about Spinner?
Be the next. It's not Spinner. I think Spinner is going to be critical, but the assassin that was from Tartarus, the other character that was there, I think
Kirigiri.
Was that Kirigiri? I don't recall right now. I'm not going to remember exactly without looking at it. However, I think that's going to be pivotal. I think also we saw that they ended on Awful One. So yeah, I think there was a lot, like that opening cover and that final page and just showing the different quirks on each finger. Like that was intense, man. Like this was a very neatly and pretty wrapped chapter in a lot of ways, and I really appreciated it.
So for me, I'm gonna say in the beginning of the chapter, like Kendall said, that cover page is rightfully so. Because if you guys remember, the last time our boy Shoto had a cover page, his flame and his cold fire or cold ice was not out in the open like that. It was just Shoto, just trying to control his fire, trying to control his own body. Now, months later, I don't know when was the last time he did it, but I know it was like a year ago. So months later, a year later, our boy Shoto gets another cover page of an issue of My Hero Academia, and he gets it where he shows his beautiful work, his flaming hot and his cold ice, and then it shows that even even Endeavor's sidekicks, even his classmates are impressed and happy. Even Endeavor, even anybody that knows of the situation that Shoto just had to do, take down his own brother Dabi, aka Toya, they know that that was such a huge outcome. There, even Spinner was shocked, and I love how our boy Spinner said, "No choice in hell that is true. There's gotta be information warfare. What people don't get, misinformation warfare is such a critical type of concept in any warfare battle, because any any false information you give to the enemies, they could believe that's real, and that could turn the tide. So turning that on a big announced speaker that Dabi lost and our boy Shoto won, that's a huge advantage to the opposing team and to the enemy. It shows it to both sides, because now that gives more motivation to the classmates, to the other heroes, saying that, oh shit, the big task that Shoto Todoroki, the son of Endeavor, had to task on his hand, and he got it done. He defeated his brother, the Blue Flame, and he took him down without killing him. That shows a big accomplishment for the hero side. And now for the enemy side, aka Spinner, he was like, no, that can't be the way. And showing that our boy Spinner had to ask for help by All For One to give him a higher type of mutation or higher type of increase of dosage in whatever his quirk. Maybe what was it, quirk evolution, I believe what it was. He said, no, it can't be. He always had everything. He was jealous by Dabi. He was envious by Dabi because he always had everything. A reason to live, on a goal, power too, things I like. His conviction could never fail him. So Spinner was angry to believe that was true for Dabi to lose, and that's such a powerful thing. When you have somebody that you envy, and for that person who you look up to in a way, who you had motivation by, lose, your whole type of conviction now gets worried. Because your conviction used to be to protect Shiraki because of Stain. But now to see that Dabi, who's the person who had everything for him, and that he lost, it's like, fuck, now, like, what we're doing, is it what we're doing correct? So that's something that's so beautiful to tell. Sam says, All For One was flexing his quirks. Yes. Tell that to the league players. When they hear their teammates got the kill, they get the encouragement boost.
It's a war tactic. It's definitely a war tactic.
And Kirigaya says, I used to hate MHA for 2 years. Damn, why, Kirigaya? Then I confronted their topic and came to the conclusion that I love MHA and is actually in my top 15 favorite animes, but absolutely hate the fan base. Same here. That's why I do not connect with any fan base. Even as much as I love One Piece, I don't connect to any fan base because I just enjoy the mediums. I know their flaws, but I stay from the fandom base. I just enjoy our fan base, my other friends' fan base. But the actual content of said medium fan base, hell to the damn no. Or team death matches. So after avoiding it and finally gonna watch the new seasons, yes, I suggest to watch the new seasons and enjoy it. Obviously, it reminds me of some of the army morale strategies I've seen in character break in Magic recently. Yeah, I 100% agree. Like in any battle like this is a war going on to save Japan. The heroes, the kids, the classmates are fighting in a war to fight the Demon King, is what he proclaims himself. The man to take over Japan. This is literally the battle to save a country under the break of control over a one ruler, a democracy. So this is literally
the world. Japan's the country, but it's like Japan is the center point of what will happen, because once Japan is taken over, that's it for everyone else. So
with that being the case, it just shows that with our boy Spinner. Our boy Spinner had a whole mutation, looking like our boy Godzilla here, and then it shows that I forgot his name. The guy that has the arms and the legs, being all extra ears and eyes. I think it's Shoji. Shoji,
yes.
right? So
Right.
I don't know why, but I really like this panel of him saying, "Todoroki, I'm so proud I made it into your class." And then we see our boy Ida being right next to Shoto, being impressed. You're like, you have nothing to apologize for. Yo, how's he still alive? Like, it just shows that his classmates are proud of Shoto because they know how much Shoto has underwhelmed his character so much, and now he finally is breaking out of his character, out of his father's character. But my favorite one to give a reaction was our boy. Where is it? Did he give a reaction to, or was it very short?
Talking about Bakugo?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it.
Yeah, Bakugo was basically like, I knew you could do it. But again, we talk about Bakugo basically, you know, he's tough on the class, but he's tough on the class because he holds the class to the same level of expectation that he has for himself. I actually want to focus on the villains though.
What's up?
Because one, I told y'all Dabi was going to survive this. Just going to throw that out there. I literally said that like 2 or 3 weeks ago now.
Yeah,
But
because boy has something about light in that panel, right?
Yeah, they say it like they literally say, how is he still alive? So I knew that there was going to be some type of accumulation of things that happened where there was going to be some type of big type of ice type move that basically somehow preserves Dabi to some form. We'll definitely obviously get into that way later on. That might play into the fight a little later, or it might be something post the fight, but we'll see. But the other thing is Spinner. So Ray always talks about this. Shout out to Ray Apollo. When it comes to My Hero Academia and the quirks being so deeply connected to the personality and the mindset of these individual people, and we see basically everyone kind of going into like, man, I'm proud, I respect this, but then Spinner is just like, so we already know that Spinner has this kind of inferiority complex to him, but he has a lot of great power, and that's why All For One kind of covets him. And we see that again where Spinner's kind of going back into like, he had everything, and then you think about it, right? In Dabi's eyes, Shoto had everything, so there's a little parallel there as well. But you see him crack, and you see his quirk basically evolve even further. You can see it. You can see that he even gets a little bit bigger, a little more ferocious, in that transition of the page of him just being like, you know, this is the guy that had everything. This is the guy that I looked up to, the guy that I was trying to emulate. You're telling me this guy failed? Nah, that's impossible. And you see how that fully affects the way that the quirk starts to manifest itself. And I think we're going to definitely, again, it's going to be interesting to see which one of these fights we turn or pivot our direction into. But I know that this stuff right here is going to continue to be really, really good. Oh snap, we have the Sam. Is that the Sam?
Can you hear me?
We sure can, coming in loud and clear.
Sorry, I was trying to switch my device to my laptop, the computer, but I didn't want to interrupt you too. But
No
continue.
worries. Hold on. Before Sam continues talking, I want to say something. That
Before you say something, can you also send me the link to
send you one link.
group chat, Zoom link group chat, so I could just go from there and I'll switch.
Okay. While I do that in a second, let me just say an intro I've been wanting to say. After eons of time have passed, returning from his ultimate training arc, aka school, the man of culture have memes, the mastermind of anime lately team. He is the man of 1,000 manga tabs, which is true, guys. The arbiter of greatness, the engineer of the best interests. Welcome back, Sam, the manga man.
What year is it? What year is this?
I've awoken. It's the fact that you said that, and then
What year
all
is
of that's in your face. Where have I returned from?
Yo, Kendall, I kid you not. Me and Sam was talking about this last night about his hair and everything. So kid you not, we were there talking about this the whole day yesterday.
We're still going.
What happened? What time is this? Who's president? Is there still a pandemic? Yes, Sam, there's still a pandemic.
Has One Piece ended yet? No, we're still going on chapter 1,300 right now. Going now, right now.
Is Twitter still being toxic?
Oh, that's never gonna be changing.
It's no longer called Twitter. It's called Musk.
Damn you, Elon!
Sam, you want Twitter message or you want iMessage? I mean,
either one is fine. I'm gonna have to switch devices, so I'm gonna have to leave this one from my phone and have to switch to the other one. Though, so it's fine.
Probably send it on Twitter then. So while we get Sam right back in, yeah, like I said, jumping back, I just wanted to hyper focus on Spinner because I feel like we got a lot of things around the psychosis of the heroes and the rest of the class, but that was actually like a big tone, and the fact that that was actually like smack dab in the center of like the chapter sequence, like episode, like page wise, it's like in the middle of the meat of everything, and you get this quick reference to the other classmates, but like you really get this hyper focus on two things. You get a hyper focus on Spinner, and you get a hyper focus on the attack on the psyche of Endeavor. And All For One rips into him, justifiably so, rips completely into Endeavor in a way that is so healing to me. It's so beautiful. I really appreciate it. I hope it hurts him a little bit more than a lot, because I think, you know, we know as the reader there's understanding that Todoroki took this upon himself. Todoroki knew innately to himself that he was the best person to deal with Dabi, but we still understand that Endeavor is this person who, it's not to say that his mental state is fragile, however, he does carry a great mental burden comparative to the rest of the other heroes that are part of this operation. I think even seeing All Might's reaction to Todoroki and kind of them having to kind of tell like All Might, like, yo, All Might, pass the message on. You know, like it wasn't like All Might's first instinct to be like, I'm gonna pass this message on. So we know that they're both All Might and Endeavor are kind of struggling with the adaptation of the new roles that they find themselves in regards to this war. Said. And I think that it's, again, it really goes to focusing on the villains, because you get we haven't had independent of Shigaraki All For One narration in a while, and it was really good, a reminder of who this man is, a reminder of why he is the sinister villain that he is. And it's not just about his manipulation of quirks. It's his manipulation of words. This is manipulation of mind states. This man is truly 100%. In case you all forgot, he is the villain. And I think this is actually another setup for Shigaraki a little later on, to put like a putting kind of like a goal to meet, sort of, you know. But I'm here for some All For One action again. I'm hyped to see what type of exchange and fight that we get out of this interaction, because I think it's going to be really good. Again, I'm so more confused than I was at the beginning of this. I kind of knew that Dabi was going to be one of the first couple fights in Toga, and that was just what it was. I really have no idea, at least right in this very moment, upon just reading everything you know, a couple hours ago. I don't know what are the next two stages that we're going to look at. Again, like I said earlier, I think it might be that escapee, and then I'm wondering who else. I think something with Giganta with All For One has to kind of, it would make sense for those two to be paired together in a sense. But also it would make sense for Spinner and Giganta as something leading towards All For One. So maybe those would be the last three out of the set of fight sequences that we were kind of basically alluded to where we're gonna jump to next. So it's gonna be interesting, to say the least. But yeah, so I'm gonna stop right there. We got Sam back. Sam, once again, welcome back. I'm
It's been
glad
too
that
long. It's been too long, my brother. So welcome back.
I'm glad that I'm glad that hopefully the worst of it is over at this point for you.
Well, he has until
I
tomorrow
mean,
to
I
find out the
mean-
scores, so it's not yet there. Not yet there.
Yeah, like I said, hopefully the worst of it is behind
But enough
us at
school
this
talk. Let's
You,
go
you,
about
you'll
the.
see me with a full beard and longer hair next time if that's gonna happen.
point. With the Master Roshi turtle shell on your back.
Yeah, I mean, all my hair will be white by then. And like, oh man, I gotta keep going. Fuck, white. But yeah, man, glad to be back. Oh man, it's been a long time, like over a month now, I believe, since
Well-
last time we came on.
How has this arc itself has been hitting you? How has this fight of Shoto and Dabi hitting you?
So okay, people would say it was a little short, but I think it was on the right pacing where there's already so many other fights happening at the same time. There's also like other things that's happening at the same time, and you want to wrap up one of the major stories, which was the Todoroki story, the Endeavor story, the Shoto story, the Dabi story, the Toya story. All of it came together, the backstory of it all, how it wasn't just the doctor who helped rebuild Toya's body in flames and All for One did that. No, it was more for Dabi in itself. Well, Toya, seeing that nothing has changed, even after his death, his father still being a douchebag, he's still training Shoto. Toya's still seeing Shoto as the chosen one kind of thing, because he's the one that has both the ice quirk and the flame quirk. And he come to the fact where, like, you know, fuck this. Toya means nothing to nobody in this entire thing. I'd rather just be as someone else, and it's me as Dabi. Like, at least he's a new person. He's a different personality where at least when he makes something happen in the real world, there will be real impact and consequences that's happening. Because Toya doesn't seem to be the person that does anything. Toya, no matter what Toya does, nothing seems to be happening and changing. So I might as well let Dabi be Dabi, let destruction happen. If anything worse came to happen, worse consequences, I blame Endeavor because he was the person that made me become me. Even when I was to do something good, it still does nothing changes. If I do something bad, nothing happens unless if I was named Dabi, if I was named Toya, if I was named Dabi, I could do whatever I want, just kill anybody I want, and all the blame would go towards my father because of how he raised me and whatever piece of shit he was. And that sort, that when you guys just spoke about the core within Dabi that's keeping him alive. I know I've heard of the will of flame, the heart of flame, and all that stuff to keep you encouraged. But sometimes you need a coolant, like a resistor in a way, something to help you that it doesn't burn that part of you, so that you don't like everything burns up and die kind of thing. There's a good chance it might be that small ice quirk, like late in the game awakening, that so to speak, but. It's possible because even Shoto was able to unlock some sort of a frost flame kind of thing that's been happening. Like, even if you see fire, you touch it, it doesn't burn. When you see ice, it's and you poke it, it doesn't freeze. You don't feel the cold and chill. I think it would be symbolic. It would be to know that Shoto is the one that helped unlock it from Dabi. Yeah,
But do you think that we also have the scientists? Because remember when the scientist said that he did some experiments to Dabi?
Remember, no, he really didn't do anything to him. He just said he just repaired his body. That's it. And like what kept Toya alive was.
You don't think in those repair of his body he probably didn't add anything of his own?
So that might be touching into vigilantes, but the doctor did said that he really didn't do anything. And it was just him repairing his skin, his body, with All for One as well. Remember, they couldn't control him. He was the uncontrollable, like Hell's Fires, the devil of Hell's Fires and Flames. And this was something that even we did not even want to touch or even get into. So they didn't really do anything to him. All he did was just heal his body and like let him go, just let him do what he wants and wreak havoc. That's really what anything needs. Like, I mean, we had other test subjects. You killed it. We can't control you. Let let him out in the world and let him do what he wants to do. And if he happens to come back, like maybe we could do a partnership or something. That's technically what entirely happened because Dabi remembered the doctor. He remembered the situation. The doctor was wondering why Dabi was still alive after all this time when he was supposed to only live for like less than a year, and so to speak.
But again, it speaks to what we've been speaking about in this current theme going on is about your conviction about it, like of what you're determined to do, and it shows that what Dabi was determined to fight, destroy his family and everyone else. And plus, I want to add what Kendall said about all my being quiet, but also being impressed. Like Todoroki kid, he has such a huge dealt to deal with your family and everything. And I love what they said. Like at first, All Might as a teacher, he's a teacher first. He's a mentor. Yes, he was a hero, but he's not here no more. He's retired. But now he's a teacher and mentor at first. So for him to hear that his student defeated his brother as an enemy and had to take him down, he was proud of that at first. But then he had to remember that he's also a person in the front lines to let all the news be reported. And that's what he had to do. So it was such a powerful thing that he had to express this information to Todoroki and everyone else and to Mina. Like Red Riot was also even excited that like that got him even riled up. Like, hey, if our very own people, Todoroki and everyone else, is doing good at their job and task, what does that make us any different to do what we gotta do here? So it just shows that. And plus, I think Sam said in chat or before somebody else, when even Bakugo, who used to call him hot and cold, he
Ice
actually
hot.
said Todoroki. That's a very thing. Once you say somebody by their name, that shows an amount of respect in Japan. When you don't say a nickname or something, but you say an actual name of their first and last name, that shows an amount of respect. So that also shows of how much Baku was proud of him as well.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I think Bakugo really has the highest expectations for his peers comparatively, and I think that's kind of like a testament of like, okay, now you doing that thing that I thought that you could do. Now you ready to be in the realm of where I am at. You know, it's not like that egotistical of him, but it's also very much so like his way of showing care. You know what I mean? He's always been that tough love character, but you've always known that he supported his you know, his peers, his classmates. You know, even going back to like the school festival and all those different things. He just has to do things on his term, and he likes it to be done in the best way possible. And I think comparatively to everyone else, this is the first character. I don't know if I want to discount Uraka's interaction like that, but Todoroki really takes the first step of like fully challenging everything comparatively to the rest of the classmates. Again, I think, I don't know if the Toga thing is completely resolved and Uraka's situation is fully resolved. So I think I can confidently say that Todoroki is the first to have this really big staple point that comes in there at this point. And again, to think that each of these fights are going to discern a certain type of path to which we go. Like I said, we know we're going to get a little swinging back and forth because that's how My Hero Academia does. Like he's very much so loves the villains as much as he loves the heroes, and I don't care what anyone says, I'm gonna stand behind that. Very much so has a lot of love for the characters, the personality and the characters of the villain characters just as much as he does the heroes. And I think that there's going to be important to see certain air quotes wins for the villains, and how that pushes the narrative of the story is going to be real key.
I definitely agree because like remember I think was it her name was Momo, or I'm sorry, a Pinky? Like she overheard that one of the convict villains like, yeah, just like that UA teacher. What?
Yo,
I saw the rage hitting.
She was triggered. She was triggered until like Red Riot just kind of like, I'm back up here. He never heard. He didn't hear it. But like,
he had the audacity to say that shit, like to say that you a teacher, we kill her. I'm like, boy.
But like, that also goes to, we know that those two have a certain dynamic as far as their friendship going way back to elementary school and how they look up to each other, basically. So that's again another beautiful tie-in in just like the planning of when to execute that specific series of points. And then the way that they showed Oh, the way that they showed her in the little small panel, and I was just like, oh, I was gripping my chest. I was like, y'all didn't have to put her on the screen like that.
That's a smart. That is a smart strategy too. Like again, in warfare, once you say something out loud for like just like I killed your comrade last week, it shows that that's a smart type of strategy because it will change up your.
That's a little too broad. It's more of a it's more of a subtle way where you had no idea that you had any relations towards the other person. It just sort of happened to happen.
It was motivation. It was just again like not knowing exactly where. I think that's gonna probably be the next big fight that we transition to, honestly. But I think not knowing where, it was kind of that point of like, hey, kind of like just caught in the fog of war thing. Like you're just sitting there and you're like, oh man, you're getting this news and you're like, all right, we gotta do our thing, and then you're trying to get hype yourself up, right? And then you hear, yeah, that's why I killed your mentor. Like it's really just like I think it's more so to the writing and the mangaka than it is to kind of like the mental state of just like trying to manipulate the war, if that makes sense. So it's more so to the characters than it is the overall war, that I think that piece is there. But I think Vash still has a very good point. I think there's that underlying tone of like, maybe it was intentional. We know that there's been a lot of other characters that have kind of said things to kind of stab at the heroes. We see All For One kind of getting in the headspace. So what if that was a strategic move? What if it was something that was kind of laid out there intentionally, hoping that, maybe they can get one of the key components off? But then you have Red Riot come in, who we know is that kind of like fortitude of like some solidarity for the class, honestly. So I think that's important. And I think each of the scenes we saw the pairs of classmates where it's like one is like this and the other classmate's like, nah, hold it together. So I think that was just kind of what that scene was.
And then there's like another weird different fight in Division where Fat Gum and Ayama are fighting an assassin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A former member that used to work with Conqueror? Dictator. Mm-hmm. The Dictator quirk. Mm-hmm. So the assassin threatening Ayama and his family, like after your betrayal, we're gonna go after you and your family kind of thing. Yet Ayama, like, he's scared, but like he says like merci, like meaning thank you, meaning like let it happen. I chose this for a reason. I want to be a hero.
The retribution. He was like, I gotta pay my mens anyway. So if I took it as, if you gonna look at me instead of everybody else, I think that's what that was for me. He was like, you know what, good. Look at me. Bring all of it to me.
And if it's good motivation for him in that fight, it definitely will be interesting to see how that will go through.
Mm-hmm.
Cause like, isn't Sun Eater supposed to be with them or no?
His group. Sunny's in the group with Fat Gum. So yes, I think you're right.
They should be there in the back or like
because we already know Red Riot is with the classmates and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And like, I don't believe. Wait, was Ayama went with the group? Went with Fat Gum's group, and that sort of speak, and he didn't stay in the.
He stayed with them. He stayed with them, and I'm very happy he did, because it's interesting. The smirk he did, and he said mercy. I'm curious to see if we're gonna see a different personality.
It's French.
I know it's French. I know, but that's his word. Like, that's his word, mercy. Like, that's his word that when he's calm or when he acts like he knows what to do. But
yeah, he's used it before. I get what you're saying.
So my question is that is he ready to take on this serious personality now of his, where he can actually use his quirk instead of a foolish way? Like, can he control this quirk of his? Does he have some type of mental state to actually use his quirk on a battlefield, or would he be useless? That's what I'm curious to see about Ayama now that he has his conviction. He's determined to help out Deku and the heroes and the classmates. Is he gonna be upfront to it and actually be useful for Fat Gum and the others that's with him right now? That's what I'm trying to wonder for his character.
I don't think Ayama's useless. Like, he was able to use his quirk to attack All For One, like, way back in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Well, sorry, like, I'm not saying useless in the bad way, but I'm saying, like, would he be more useful than a one-on-one fight like would be useful in a group type of battlefield, because this is a war right now going on. So
Well,
would
he's
he
not
be
fighting all for one, so yeah, he should be fine.
Yeah.
He was more towards his shock and scare is more towards all for one than really the other villains.
Yeah, I think without All for One being directly in his presence, he can muster up enough courage to be useful. But I kind of get where Vash is coming from, because it's still, I think there's still part of his mental that isn't necessarily up to where it could be with certain things. But he has shown, like Sam said, he has shown at the beginning of this that he's ready to push back. So hopefully, that was basically the start of this whole fight sequence, was him. So I think there's some good room for it. I think there's gonna be a point where he tries to sacrifice himself, and I'm wondering how that's gonna be handled. I could be wrong, but I have a feeling that there's gonna be a point where he's still gonna feel like he's responsible and he has to make amends, and he's gonna want to put himself in front of the damage. Whether how and when and for what reason they really put behind that motivation for that moment, I think is gonna be important. I think it would be cool for him to die, for some more motivation for Deku. It would be interesting. I'm very much understanding of the shonen trope of using someone important to thing, and I think he's the most dispensable important person on the field right now.
And to add to that, talking about most important person on the field, I'm curious to see how the altercation between All for One and our boy Endeavor is going to be, because our boy literally said this is why you lose, number one. It literally has 5 fingers, and showing that each of them has its own quirk. So it shows
He's just flexing. He's just flexing. Like,
he's flexing, but like, what can Endeavor and Hawks and who other else is there?
They're not supposed to be the ones to take. They weren't going to take down All for One. They were supposed to stall this All for One so Deku could get to Shigaraki All for One, so that he could take them down. If anything, they're just buying the time. They're just trying to be the distraction for like the other people to take care of Shigaraki. Because as long as they take care of Shigaraki, they get to breathe another day. Like they get to live another day, and that so to speak. But then like for the main old body All for One, with all the quirks and everything like that, like you could just spend time and plan and do this all over again at a later time. But you want that later time to be not today. You want to live today.
Right.
So knowing that, they both know they're not going to be able to keep up with the old All for One, regardless. Like even if he's much weaker now and everything, I don't think they still wouldn't be able to stand a chance with the old body, bigger All for One. If anything, if somehow they actually managed to like get him down or kill him, there's a good chance that his consciousness would go straight to Shigaraki's All for One body.
That is true, because part of his All for One already has
the
his
quirk
mind
is
state.
already he has the copy quirk. The original quirk is in Shigaraki, so
you're right. Yeah. So he could. So if he does go down for the count, or could possibly die, at the end of the day, he could go and be done with. Damn, you're all right.
Yeah, this old body don't need this anymore. I mean, I never needed this old body because it's right there. My new body was just playing the role.
Yeah. I agree. It's some type of, like I said, it's some type of step to either set up for taking over the body or for Shigaraki. I think it should be Shigaraki, because I think Shigaraki is the true parallel to Deku. But I think it's still the setup of like, here's the goal that has to be reached. And All for One is not like All Might. Like he has healed. Like he doesn't have a super critical injury. He's been sitting, chilling, pretty much healed up to fight.
A question.
He can fight.
Do you guys find it weird in page 9? Our boy Zero literally just had the ... And our boy Howard don't really waste a panel. So do you think Zero was just shocked that our boy Shoto won? Or do you think that he was just didn't know what to say? Or do you think, I don't know, like I just find that like it's just a red herring. I don't know, I just find like a red herring within that comment. Like he said, oh, we have to celebrate his win when the battle's over. I remember people saying that he was outmatched. do you think that
Yeah,
that
I
man more of a
think
comment
that
of him
was-
winning or saying that
I feel
outmatched
like
part?
I feel like he was one of those people saying that he's outmatched. You can't
That's
do
what
it.
I got from it. I got
Okay.
from it as he wasn't
Okay.
confident that was necessarily the best matchup, or maybe there was some type of hesitation from him in just regards to the whole operation.
Copy.
And now he feels guilty because he was one of the people that was sitting with some doubt about what the operation was. And he's like, damn, I really was doubting my classmates, kind of thing. And instead of him having a line, and I think it's also pertinent that you notice his mask is on, and even when his mask is on at times, he usually shows his eyes or his expressions. There's no expression at all there. His face is fully covered. So
Yeah.
that was definitely an interesting point. I'm glad you brought that up. That was definitely something that did catch my attention a little bit, but I don't think it was to that extreme. I think it was just like
I was
hero-
wrong.
A hero was too stunned to speak.
Probably could be it. Like, yeah, because when I read that's one of the panels that kind of like, wait, Hori, why did you put that in? What was that comment for? Sure to win it, but you make sense, guys, about that he was probably one of the people that agree that, hey, he's probably outmatched. So I do agree on that, which he did prove him wrong. So in that sense, Sam, get any last thoughts on?
Well, I was gonna
MHA?
say like even Grape Boy himself was like he had this like teeth grin and be like, okay, one of our friend win. I get the encouragement, but I'm also wrong from that point. If you go to page 6 and you look at the Grape Boy,
Yes,
He's-
fucking great boy.
he's always scared, and I'm gonna guess that's where the tears coming from. But like I think he's also one of the doubters of Todoroki being able to beat Dabi kind of situation.
Of course, it's because wait, hold up. Is it me or did I just notice in one of the villains is that the same purple ghoul or green ghoul that was back in episode 1 or chapter 1 of MHA?
the Muck guy.
Yeah, the mug or the
Yeah, he
big
was.
burger dude?
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about from episode 1 from the beginning.
Yes, that's him, right?
That slime monster thing.
Yeah, it definitely looks like him.
He's everywhere. I see him everywhere.
He does randomly
I just noticed
pop
that.
in.
Wow, he literally is there. Like, hey, I'm going from back for round 2 versus All Might. I'm like, my dude, you're a father now, right?
I mean, he's not fighting All Might, so he has a chance.
Yeah, he was strong. He really did just bump into All Might. He was just doing low class villain type stuff.
Yeah.
I was gonna go into Spinner real quick. How he got that supersized big look is because of All for One. Because if you see the next chapter, the reason why I said that Toya, aka Dabi, did not have any other power ups or did not borrow anything is like I don't need any of that crap. It's all me, all 100% me. This power quirk, this blue flame, everything is all me. I don't need any like booster environments or any of that because we already know if All for One does something, there's gonna be some like backlash and side effect tricks to it. Remember our girl, the sniper girl, got blew up,
Yep.
Yeah.
and anybody has more than multiple quirks is gonna blow up, and that's why I feel like Spinner might not be living at the end of this.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you
Yep.
think that he put a? Do you think he put a sales place? What's the word?
No,
I
it's just the
No,
so
no,
like,
no.
So
It was
like,
in
I
general.
wish we could put like chapter 13 up on the screen, like the page 13 I mean up on the screen, because so what it goes is Dabi's like I need any of that crap, and he walks off, right? And then
I don't need no extra quirk. I
and
don't
then-
need any of the protection.
Right.
I'm all for me, myself, and I.
And you see Spinner, you see All for One's hand and the shadow figure, and Spinner is like basically being turned
And what's-
and like
yo, and
like
what's
he's
sad-
basically coddled and walked into the darkness. And I think that again, I don't need any of that crap. Like Sam is saying, is the enhancements, right? And so Spinner is like, I don't have the strength on my own, so I had to turn to get these additional enhancements from All for One.
And what sucks is that he
It's also
knows that he didn't want to, but he knows he has to if he wants to protect Shigi, if he wants to be part of the cause, if he wants to be part of the war. He cannot just be an old timer type of lackey who just has this type of basic type of gecko skills or quirk, but he wants to like, how can I elevate my gecko quirk into something better? Let me go to All for One and get this, extra size, super size Godzilla drug, or aka the Hulk.
No, remember his arm too. His arm
Yeah,
has.
his
If you go to the next
arms-
page, his arm has some kind of like a sword spike kind of thing.
Yeah.
I
So,
mean,
like-
it's even the bottom of that page talk about foreboding
Ooh.
and possible deaths. Todoroki ... I'm so proud I made it into your class. Now that sounds like some dead stuff right there. That sounds like beckoning your deck right there. It's like, well,
It's also
I'm glad I got to meet everyone.
He became the Abomination. That's a good name for Spinner. Abomination.
Oh, no, not
Oh
Spination.
man, not about. Oh no. But like, I get where Spinner's coming from because every people he loved, the original team, technically going down one by one. You got Twice down, Toga's about to, it's getting twisted down. Dabi just went down. Like it's affecting him slowly. Each and every, technically even Shigaraki is down. He saw that in front of his face, and it's not even his fault. That wasn't even the hero's fault. It's because of.
Remember,
because of
Spinner was a candidate too, right?
Exactly.
Spinner was a candidate for host. So he had some potential to.
Yeah.
Even
Can you repeat
that
that?
was Sam
Kendall,
was saying.
could you cut off?
Yeah. So even what Sam was saying about like potentially taking over another body, that could be Spinner's body. Spinner was another potential candidate.
I feel like it's a backup case in case Shigaraki is dead or goes down. I can escape with Spinner kind of thing. But like we've discussed, if a person has more than one multiple quirks within them, like just not born with it, the body is gonna deteriorate. It's gonna destroy itself. So it's gonna be on its own ticking time bomb. But it's also the show of leadership too, because you guys discussed this, that Spinner is the leader of the movement of the
mutants.
The mutants, yeah, the mutants. And like, you can't just stay as a gecko mode kind of weak leader figure. You have to show dominance and that sort of stuff. You have to be a big powerful being, and he had to borrow All for One. But then again, that was all from All for One's manipulation. Like, hey, you could be the symbol of all these mutants and these quirks. You could be this guy's in first. People are going to be respecting you. People need to look up to you. You're going to need all those powers and that sort of stuff. Even though Spinner never really wanted that in the first place, he was just given, he had to roll with it. And now he has no choice but to like go to the end of the ropes with that motivation and goal and that conviction that he actually, technically even Spinner's own conviction kind of, it's a little twisted now. It's pretty bent to the point where he doesn't even recognize his own convictions anymore. The reason why he sees Dabi as like, I don't see how could he lose? He never bent, he never strayed, he never gave up his own entire goals of conviction. Whereas I don't even know what I'm fighting for anymore. Like, I don't even know what was this entire point of this entire process. I'm listening to some big dude, powerful dude who's telling me to like, oh, your process is this, your motivation is this, your conviction is this, and this entire time, like, no, I just wanted a better life for me and people like me. Next thing you know, you become like dictator, kind of a monster movement, that sort of stuff, where you want to kill innocent lives just to get your point across and everything. And it's a complete 180 of what you wanted to have and the goal to it. And now
I was gonna say, I was gonna add to what you're saying, because even Alvarez brought up Malcolm X Spinner versus MLK Shoji here, and I see that possibly being a fight because Shoji is right there, and him saying that comment towards of what Kendall said, Todoroki, I'm so proud I made it into your class. That is probably a red flag, because we know Shoji could add additional body parts of his arms, and if he lose additional body parts, it doesn't hurt him in a mental state, but it hurts him physically, but he could just regain those body parts. So still, it's going to be a mutant versus mutant here in a way, like if you go into
which
the
is like very
X-Men
interesting
route.
good matchup in a sort of way where like Shoji can literally be the martyr, or at least be the hero to see for the other mutants, where this is not being like rebellious, being angry at everything doesn't have to always be the choice in the matter. Like,
Agreed.
You guys made your point by this with the destruction of Gungo Village and everything, that destruction and the whole wreak of habit. You guys made your point. We are in a stage of rebuilding. We can rebuild where you guys can have an equal and safer life kind of thing now, because like your point had came across, everybody's been affected by it, there are still innocent people that's just like us mutants, but like there's no peace if one has to dominate the other side. There has to be an equal level of peace, respect, and love for one another in order for a world to change, not for one side to over dominate the other side, so to speak. That's what I think. That's why I feel it's a good matchup to see. If Shoji dies, that'd be sad. That'd be tragic. But I would definitely hope that he becomes the martyr in the entire mutant group where they kind of surrender.
100% agree. Like, it shows for the character of the mutant. It shows of how much love Hori has, love of Marvel comics of the West. Like, we have Professor X versus Magneto, two ideologies that chooses to save the mutant humanitarian side, but Professor X seems like he wants to join them and protect both sides. Magneto wants to destroy one side and save the other. It's the same thing here with the Demon King, with Splinter, and that ideology is a powerful thing. It's a how far would you go for your conviction. It shows that Shoji Todoroki shows that these characters have each of their own ideology, each of their own conviction, but who's the stronger to win and outlast the other, and it shows how powerful that is. So I love this chapter for this. It shows the small type of snippets of each person ideology and what it is and how they're motivated, and the beautiful power thing of announcing who has won so far in a warfare could change any tide. It could change any win. Just like Kendall said, that next tide that could win could go to 0 for 1. My boy here is flexing with 5 fingertips, but he literally said I could throw you any single quirk I got in every single little finger. He showed one hand. I believe that was the right hand. Next hand could be the left hand. Boy got another 5 fingers. Boy could show the toes next. Be like, hey, you can't see me. I got toes out here too. With each of them got a special quirk. So my man got ready. My man got our mission ready to show what he can do and show up front.
At least I think it never heard the news, but I don't think All For One heard about it. All For One was just playing more mind games, like, oh, you're letting your sons fighting each other instead of you coming in the middle, kind of thing.
That, or he probably don't give a fuck.
When in truth, it never is just like, okay, I'm glad my son was able to stop my son. Let's speak, but
yeah, I think that's a big open to next week's chapter. Is probably gonna be. I think you open immediately.
Because like remember, like, Endeavor. Okay, that was Hawks. That says here comes the mind games. I thought it was Endeavor's. Like, yeah, here comes all these mind games coming in. More of an All For One saying, "Oh, you heroes just have so much to protect, right?"
Endeavor says nothing, right?
Yeah,
he doesn't say anything through that whole entire exchange. So I think that's how you even start. You probably start the next chapter, honestly.
Oh yes.
Don't even say one word. Just don't give him any like.
I think Endeavor is just shocked from the turn events. He expected Shota to win, but I guess he didn't expect Shota to win. Like, he was more of like having his 2 sons fight. You love both no matter what. You know, one fuck up.
No, he had to rely on Shota. Remember his family, his entire family came.
But what I'm saying is just for him to actually hear the confirmation that his son won. Like, he knows that he was hoping for him to win. Well, he knows Shota was gonna defeat Dabi and Toya and everything. So I think but I feel like his eye expression is like, fuck, my son did it. It's like, in knowing that you're also in battle, you also need to have a clear face, but also that cannot change your mood.
But it's also good news for him, yes. Knowing that Shoto won, knowing that Toya's still alive, it gives him hope and motivation.
So that was my question to you guys: is that, are we sure that Endeavor knows that Dabi is alive? I think that might be even point of the point of like silence and confusion, because it's like, yeah, you know that the fight was won. But it's like, you don't know the state of your son, because we know that Endeavor still cares. Like,
he's still father. He's still father no matter what.
Endeavor, no matter how much we like to hate on him, Endeavor never stopped caring about him. He kept searching longer than anyone else kept searching for him. So it's still, I think for him, it's just like, what does this even mean, kind of thing. And again, if all he heard was, well, Shoto,
did he put him down, kind of
right
thing?
He doesn't know like how the actual battle concluded.
That is true.
I think that's what that hesitation and that kind of like silence is there for. And I think NG is capable. I don't think that's something that is gonna really stop him from doing his job. I think it would be funny to see another Shoto Scream panel at this state. It would be super random, but like it would be pretty funny to see that. But I think he doesn't know the full dynamics, and I think that's what his pause is. I think his pause is like, shit, well, I'm glad he won. I needed him to win. I wanted him to win. I was rooting for him, but like, what does that mean for this? And what does that mean for me? It could also be him looking like, like him thinking like, okay, this is another burden off of my back. I can focus a little better now. And it could be him what we could have seen really was him compartmentalizing like what's going on the battlefield to tune his focus even more. So I think either like the beginning or the end of the next chapter is going to be like Endeavor's kind of feedback or rebuttal to.
But then again, he kind of Endeavor had to know about Shoto's motivation, where he doesn't want to kill like Dabi because he's his older brother, and this entire time he's been talking like, I just want to talk to my brother. I just want to talk to my brother. I just want to talk to my brother. Even up to that last week's chapter, with the whole like flashback of both of them when they're like just like in their kids days, like you literally have sibling fighting each other, up to like last panel of how much stronger Shoto has gone into. I don't think NG doubts Shoto's motivation, because Shoto's motivation is his family's motivation. They all just want to see the oldest son back home, just so they could talk to him or something. I don't know if rehabilitation is going to be a possibility, but as long as he's still alive, whatever remaining time that Dabi has, we'll see. Because now and never, I feel like I'm really hoping he doesn't feel like, all right, if both my sons are alive now, I can continue being a hero, and if I die as a hero, I die as a hero, that sort of stuff. I feel like he still hasn't really learned where you can't die yet. You have to live. You have to pay the consequences of your actions and everything. Like, you have to keep living as Endeavor, since all your action is because you are Endeavor. You have to face every consequences that needs to come to as Endeavor.
My final point to that is also the idea that we know that NG struggles with he's had always struggled. He wanted to be number one, and he's had to deal with the burden of being number one. This also could have been a point of handoff in him mentally, of being like, okay, if he could do it, it's not about being the number one hero anymore. The next generation got this, and it could be a mental handing of the torch. That could be what's also brewing in the back of his head.
Yeah, because that's on the next motivation. Like, in case I die, we already know Shoto is going to be taking over, because there's no way Dabi is going to be able to. Because
remember, he said that Dabi's flame was even hotter than his. He wanted something that could suppress the flame. So he's done everything he's meant to do in life. He's made it to number one. He's had a son that can suppress the flame. Like, he's fighting the greatest enemy of the person that was the number one for him.
He got his son back.
This is like his final goal now. Was like, all right, everything's going really good.
And technically, he got the bonus of I got my son back kind of thing.
And if he could do some permanent damage to All For One, that would just be the icing on the cake for his whole entire arc, because it's like, all right, I did the damage that you did to All Might back to you. If he was able to do something that was almost crippling to All For One in a sense, I think that would like I said, it'd be like a super full circle, probably like 2 times over, honestly.
I do sense the red flag for Hawks though.
Oh, there's a death flag in each of those cutscenes. Each of those fight scenes, there was death flags.
Yeah, so many flags.
Death flags, bro.
Which flag? All right, which flag at least is not gonna be a dead? Like, who is still gonna at least try to be alive?
That's the question. By the end of this war, the end of this arc, by the way,
because we know if the heroes win this fight or wins that fight, that means the villain still lives throughout. That's why I feel like Toga is gonna live, because Uraka will somehow win that fight against her.
There has to be some heroes die, and there has to be some villains who live and some villains who die. There has to be some heroes that we know that cannot redeem themselves past a certain point, and some heroes, and some villains have to die. Like, AKA, with Spinner, it depends. Like, does he live or die? It depends what happens next with his whole abomination form. So it really depends on what goes next. So that's honestly straight to the point of who's gonna survive in the next couple chapters, next couple next couple of months of where we could go with this. But ooh, sorry, got a little burps there. How we feeling about the wrap of MHA? Sam, have any last thoughts before we go, so we could talk about chapter of the week?
I mean, I'm hoping the next fight. I think the next fight will be the All for One versus Endeavor and Hawks kind of thing, because heroes won this round, villains need to win the next round. And what more impactful round is to like let the old heroes like duke it out.
Yeah, and that's still a tie back to Dabi. I think it's probably not going to be, but I think I would like it to be the Spinner fight next. I would like that to be the next big fight. We got Toga, we got Dabi. It would only make sense for Spinner. There was 2 death flags basically thrown in our face, comparatively to the other cutscenes. So I think that would be the next big fight. Yeah, that or Gigantamax. I said that. I think I said that earlier. I think it's between Spinners or Gigantamaxes. Shout out to Albezi. I think those.
Where is Gigantamax? Yeah.
We saw in page 3 or 4, I believe was it, that people was trying to infiltrate Gigamaki to come out. That was in it was in Jungle Hospital in page 6 and 7. Jungle Hospital runs outside Gigamaki detainment facility. That's where Mina, Red Ryder, Sarah and them are at right now. So people are trying to free Gigamaki to get the full heavy hitters out and about. So
it's still early. We can have another chapter of looking at all of the fights before we kind of break into a specific fight or another. So.
Right, because like all we know is from that group, someone in the villain side has a tape recorder of Off One's voice just so that they could trigger Gigamaki.
And Neglected, do we think Hori would take a long break to work things out in the last arc? The only way Hori or Shueisha will let that happen is once Black Clover comes back from hiatus and Hori could take his break, because they're not going to let One Piece, who goes on break at least twice or once a month, and then my hero who's a big hitter after One Piece, Black Clover, as much as fans or people might not think is great, it's still a good heavy hitter from the top 3 and JJK. So we cannot have Black Clover and my hero on break. So once Black Clover comes back in 3 months, aka in July, then Hori could take his break. So we have One Piece, Black Clover, and JJK at least as the heavy hitters for the weekly Shonen Jump issues on a weekly basis. That's my thoughts on that question that you gave. Anybody else want to answer any questions before we move on to the next one?
We have a next one?
No, like, of the chapter of the week. The last thing to discuss. So, for chapter of the week, we have, for me, I'll give it to JJK. Nah, I'm kidding. No, I'm just kidding. It's MHA or Mission Jujutsu family. MHA hit it for me for entertainment value on what the series is, because it throws us where each of its battle is going to direction once you hear the news. For those that have not seen Dr. Stone, misinformation warfare is such a crucial thing, even back in the 18, 17, 19, and any type of battle you have had, or if you have played any type of D&D or any type of game that you could relate to. Misinformation warfare is such a crucial thing that you could have in any battle, and that's such a the thing that even they discuss of what's real, what's false. Mission to family is such a slice.
Yeah, Dr. Stone reference.
Yeah, Dr. Stone reference. I did say that at the beginning. And Mission to family is such a slice of life a thing. I would have my number 2, but I know who else would say, Sam, I'm gonna pass it on to you, because I know you was talking to me in text about Sakamoto Days, that it was such a good fight type of choreography. I saw a couple pages because I was curious, and damn, Those were some good as fire choreography. Goddamn, she was on fire. But Sam, I pass on to you.
So chapter of the week. Okay, definitely not Boruto.
Damn.
Unfortunately, not Ayashimon. Masha was getting boring. Honestly, the training arc's been getting boring to me. I would say tops. Undead Unluck was a good chapter. Honestly, it was a good back-to-back chapter. It was like it was good. Like, this chapter was like a whole emotional, like hit of everything, of realization of what's the next plan, and we have no choice but to abandon this and move on to the next one, so to speak. MHA had a good chapter. The clarification of Dabi's lost, Dabi's L, and how everybody's feeling about that L. JJK has been. I mean, Giga did kind of dirty. Giga did kind of really dirty.
He did. Hard body dirty.
And Sakamoto Days was actually a really good chapter. Like Bash said, if you guys follow Sakamoto Days, if you guys remember that fight with the Chad dude
in the carnival festival,
in that carnival festival, that fight, same fight here where Sakamoto had to come and save his mentors. Not his mentor. His associates, his workers, his underlings. His mentees. Even though they put up a good fight, but like Sakamoto has had to give them the hands, give them a good beating. Literally had to like boom, I throw you to a new location, boom, throw you to a new location, boom. I think Sakamoto Days does win this one for me.
Carnival happened from chapter 7 until 14, I believe, from what I did my quick research. Oh yes, chapter 13. So it went from chapter 7 to 13 for the carnival arc. So if you read those chapters early on, you enjoyed this. We highly suggest you to catch up on. Sakamoto Days does not get a sleeper to like Masho. I'm just putting it out there. That's probably why I probably became, I'm gonna put this in the back burner. But Sakamoto Days, I highly suggest it because it's still entertaining series from people I know that read it, like Sam, Kid Otaku, and other people I know that does read it. It's still a hype series. I guess, Kendall, you're the last one. What's your chapter of the week? Is it JJK? Did you like the slice of life of a panda, the bear, and the whale? Did you enjoy that?
Was it really a slice of life? Because that's just like Death Flag intuition. He got into a flashback of a man's life. Flashed before his lives.
Okay, so I love to give this man heat. My chapter of the week is a tie. I'll give the first one. The first one is My Hero Academia. That's easy. But the tie is with actually Dragon Ball Super.
Okay, interesting.
That was a good chapter.
Wait, who?
Dragon
Ball Super.
Oh, Kendall.
That was a good chapter.
I was gonna announce this at the end of the stream, but I'm reviewing Dragon Ball Super tomorrow evening with Chris. If you want to join the review as well.
Yeah, if I got time, man.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Happy to join.
I'm throwing my hand in.
It was a good chapter.
It was.
All around, from the first corner panel all the way to the very last panel. This was a good chapter, and I don't want to get into it because it's the end, but just know that was right there with My Hero Academia for me, for being, I think, the two best chapters coming out of this week. I didn't even know that. I stay away from the I like to flame Dragon Ball communities, so I stay away from them in general, but I still keep up with this series because I do like it. I just want to know what's happening. Honestly, I do enjoy reading.
It can't be worse than Boruto, because
and that's always the fun part, is that Boruto and Super comes out, so I always get to compare them next to each other. It's like, which one of you did well this week? It wasn't Boruto.
No,
and it definitely was Dragon Ball. Boruto is still fumbling its feet on what direction it wants to send the series in
very badly.
The annoying thing is that every chapter I just feel like they're just pushing out the end of the series. Every chapter, that's what it feels like. It's just pushing out further the end of the series, pushing out further and further and further and further. I'm done. I mean, I'm reading it, but I've already mentally checked out of just tell me when the final fight is at this point.
I haven't
That's all I'm waiting for.
I haven't even bothered to read it. Sam told me don't bother. It's just wasting. I'm like,
It's
cool.
it's not even worth the 10 minutes, man. It's not worth it.
It's not. It's not. For me and Sam, tend to just read things because we're reading it, we'll be here. We'll let y'all know if it ever has a good moment, but it's not worth picking up. You can go and start Black Clover if you haven't started reading Black Clover instead.
Still have 2 more months, right?
You can also, watch Hunter x Hunter Bash.
I plan to June. All right, give me a couple more weeks. Just try and get some lights. But that's
June's
good to hear.
June's less than 2 weeks.
All right, I still got 4 weeks of June. I still got the first week or the 4th week of June. I still got some time span. All right. Loophole guy, but that's a good
Yeah,
chapter
apparently
week.
those loopholes doesn't work well for you either. So
Those are the chapter of the week of Shonen Jump for us of each of the panelists. So let's give out plugs. Kendall, go first. Where could the good people find you? The Conquer Movement, your Twitch streams, your Twitter, your OnlyFans. Where else can good people find you?
Oh man, my feet OnlyFans is pending. Nah, man, you can catch everything down below. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Quirk Chat at Kendall X Anime, KENDALLX Anime. And like I said, my link tree is posted, so you can see all of that. There's a couple other, got invited to a guest podcast like 2 weeks ago and stuff. So I'm trying to keep track of those things and keep everything housed in one area. So check out my Twitter. You can kind of get to everything from the link tree. So, and all that information is down below.
And Sam, for the people that don't know where to find you since you just got back, where can the people could find you? Maybe this Wednesday on a set show, maybe perhaps.
I mean, and I still haven't turned on back my social, and I know I'm not that encouraged to open up my social media again. But yeah, you can follow us at Anime Lately, guys. Like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. I'll try to be back on Wednesday. I'll do what I can. I'm trying to. I'll ease back into social media somehow eventually, but I'll probably just do group chats. But if you want to communicate with me, I'm on Discord. So
you could be like Elizabeth Olsen. She doesn't use social media since the start of the pandemic. Girl just been off grid. Girl just still does her job, comes to work, and that's it. You could be like her, be off social media, be like, yo, you guys just send me the news. I do the doc, and that's it. Call it a day.
I mean, she is my waifu and dibs. So
that's very true. So for those guys, I appreciate you guys being here. Everyone, Albus, Kitty Gaia, Project Manga Knox, Nick Leck. I appreciate for everyone being in the chat, watching, subscribing, and liking the video, and everything else. Don't forget to support us on the podcast side, Linktree, like the video, subscribe. And you can find me everywhere at LegendDVash, or like Sam said, at Anime Lately. A few places at Anime _, but everywhere. And it's consistent at Anime Lately everywhere. Appreciate you guys. Thank you very much.
like Boruto.
Like Boruto. And you know what? Since Sam is here too, cheese goes on pancakes. Let's go.
I guess I gotta go on another hiatus.